Hey, Thanksgiving fans! What's going on? Welcome to Death by Podcast, the world's greatest horror movie and beyond podcast that's out there. I'm your host, Adam. That's your other host,
Kevin.
Hey, folks, we got a special one for you today. This is not the official beginning of season 4, but Kevin and I just went to see Eli Roth's Thanksgiving 2023, and we wanted to talk about it. It's really hard to look this movie up on the internet because you get like this list of, there's that new Disney one and it just shows you everything that's out at Thanksgiving, and it's like, because I was trying to find...
I found myself in like a who's on first type situation like multiple times where like Lindsay didn't know what I was going to see until the day of.
Yeah,
because she was like, "What's the name of the movie?" And I was like, "Thanksgiving." She's like, "Oh, that's the name." She's like, "You've been saying you're going to this thing."
Yeah,
like I assumed that. Yeah, and then I ran to a buddy of mine at the theater, and I said, "Are you here for Thanksgiving?" And he said, "Well, isn't everybody?" I'm like, "No, they're showing Animal House and Pineapple Express too." And he's like, "No, I mean, I'm here for Pineapple Express. What are you here to see?" I was like, "Thanksgiving."
Yeah,
what do you mean you're here?
Idiot.
He's like, "You're here to see Thanksgiving? Isn't it tomorrow?" And I was like, "No, there's a movie called Thanksgiving that I'm
That's awesome.
about to see."
Before we get into it, I want to talk about the theater. It's my first time. It's called the Hollywood Boulevard. Is that what it is?
That is what it's called. Yep.
And it was my first time, and it's kind of like one of the suburbs of Chicago. And it's, from the outside, it looks like it's in a strip mall, which is weird. And it's got like the Blues Brothers car on the roof, and the Blues Brothers. And then you go in, and it's just like awesome posters, some memorabilia. You could tell that they kind of just took what they could get. Like, you made a couple comments about like, why the fuck would you want that?
I love their little museum that they have.
Yeah, it's a weird little museum. They've got, the coolest thing is the I think the creature from the Black Lagoon's feet.
His feet. That's a cool one. Yeah, I like they have a Wilson ball. They've got some cool stuff, and they haven't in a while. They used to have like events there all the time, and they would have people come in and sign them. And
I forgot to check out the Ewok. What was the Ewok display?
I don't even know. It's an Ewok. I don't know if it's from Return of the Jedi or what, but it is in a glass case.
I mean, it was Wickett's costume. It was I don't know if it was real or what. But
I mean, I don't know if it's the costume and they put it on like a mannequin of an Ewok, because the Ewok looks kind of wonky. But
yeah,
and I would think it would be real because it's kind of it's in a spot where you can't miss it. Where there's a whole kind of mini museum in the back that a lot of people don't even know is there.
Yeah, and I forgot to check that out too. You kept telling me about it.
It's cool. It's a lot of like dresses. They have a Terminator from Terminator 4, but it's like rubber.
Yeah,
it was like a background. Like it's like somebody that was wearing like a blue screen suit was wearing it. They have the egg from Austin Powers that Dr. Evil like escapes in.
Okay,
stuff like that. I mean, they've got some cool stuff.
They also serve food, and like once you put a menu in front of me, it's like thinking stops, and I just start thinking about food, and it's bogus. But I take that back. The best thing that was in there was they had one of Whitney Houston's dresses from The Bodyguard, I guess, that she did like cocaine in or something. So I got a picture of that.
Yeah, it looked sparkly, but that was actually just all cocaine.
It wasn't crack rock. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about this. You said you wanted to rant about something. I'm really fingers crossed it's Ghostbusters 2016.
No,
okay.
I've burned myself out on that one.
Wait, I want to one more guess. It's Silver Surfer's going to be a woman.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
No, it's a small one, but I was just like, man, so there's this documentary that I read about yesterday.
Yeah.
Called Pencils versus Pixels. And I read about it, and it's about, from what seemingly I haven't watched it yet. It's about the animation industry, about how like right after like the Disney Renaissance, it was they were at like their peak, and then they kind of hit a low, and then 3D animation came in, and basically what happened, like it was about all these people had trained their whole lives to do 2D animation. Now 3D animation is a different thing, and kind of about the transition to that, but from all the studio. I'm very excited to watch it.
Sure. So I'll watch it. I didn't know it existed.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's going to be good. but I open up I go to look for it on my Roku, and the big banner comes up at the top to like, whatever it'll be. If you're looking at RoboCop, a big picture of RoboCop covers the top half of the screen, and it's just a still from the movie. But of course, it's Kevin Smith, and I like Kevin Smith. I'm a big
Was he
defender
crying?
of Kevin
Was he
Smith.
crying?
No, I don't think so. I'm a big defender of him. I like Kevin Smith.
Sure.
However, he's in every
Fuck
documentary.
Off. Exactly. Fuck
and like,
off.
What could you possibly have to add to this?
Yeah.
Like, what do you have to do with this situation? Were you in the animation industry, or are you going to be like, Toy Story kicked ass? That's what I think it's going to be.
That's
and
all
it's going to
he
be
does.
annoying.
Yeah.
Well, and I get, and it happens all the time. It just happened with this fucking Albert Brooks documentary that HBO did.
Oh,
and
the
it's
Rob
like,
Reiner one?
yeah, and the documentary is really good, but they keep cutting it like Tiffany Haddish and Nikki Glaser. Like, why are you guys in the movie? Like, or what do I give a shit what you think about Albert Brooks?
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't know him. You don't.
I mean, to be, like that's on Rob Reiner. That's his movie. So why would he? There's a reason he put them in it. But as far as the one you're talking about and Kevin Smith, yeah, Kevin, I don't understand. Like
he's in everything.
I don't understand like Kevin Smith thing. It's like
he's like the Patton Oswalt of documentaries.
Yeah.
He's just like the nerd representative.
Yeah,
where it's like, we need a nerdy guy. We need a guy that looks and sounds like he knows what he's talking about. So put this guy here.
I'm so glad you said that, because like Patton Oswalt, I'm sure he's nice, whatever, but fuck off also, because like I just can't stand that he's this representative of nerd culture, and it's like, just shut up, man. Like,
yeah, and I don't think it like
go away.
I don't think he's faking it. I think he really does like all this stuff, but it's it's. I don't know, man.
That's interesting. And it's interesting you bring that up, because I saw a post a couple days ago about, the new movie Wish. That's the Disney one that's out now, the animated one.
Yeah.
And whoever's the woman who's in charge of, I think in charge of Disney animation, I want to say, I'm getting this. I don't know, whatever. She said she downplayed 2D animation, and I'm an artist. You're an artist. I don't do digital stuff. I draw by hand, pencil, paper, and nothing against digital stuff or 3D stuff, but I love 2D. And she was downplaying 2D and was saying that you couldn't accomplish the same stuff with 2D animation that you could with 3D. And it was like all these people, all these amazing people that worked for Disney, that currently work for Disney, and artists that I follow that are 2D artists, being like, this, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And that's bullshit that she would be out there when she knows she employs tons of 2D animators, And so it made me throw on in the comments, there were a bunch of people that referenced Netflix's Claws.
The movie Claws. I watched it a week ago. Yeah.
I hadn't seen it, so I threw it on.
Excellent.
I'm halfway through. It is so far. And the animation is 2D, and it's 2D animation, and it's phenomenal.
Well, it's kind of 2D. I mean, it's the same as Wish, where it's 2D. It's 3D kind of laid on top. Futurama's like theme song. Like whenever they show the ship is like this, where it's 2D laid over 3D. Does that make sense? Like,
are you sure? Because all these people who worked on it were saying like,
oh, you're talking Wish or Klaus? I thought Klaus. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I might.
Wish.
I could be wrong.
Wish is 3D animation,
like
whatever.
Meant to look like 2D, but it is 3D. Yeah,
correct. I think Claus, I could be wrong also, but I think Claus is just 2D, like old school style. But it's definitely like, sure, they do whatever they do digitally. But the point is like, man, just everything. It's not like what a thing is, whether it works. It's how you do it, and it's like what you put into it. And you might have to work harder with 2D, but it's like not any better or worse or whatever. And I say when people come out and say like, make a statement like that, especially when they've got a loud voice,
Yeah, I'd like to see the video you're talking about.
I want to watch this documentary you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm excited, because it was a big thing. I wanted to be an animator. That was like, I went to school. I went to all this stuff. I didn't go to school to be an animator, but when I did go to like art school, that was like, I wanted to be a 2D and I didn't have any interest in 3D animation, because it was like, at the time, it just was like, you got to learn.
Like a Def Leppard video where it's like a bunch of boxes moving.
It was just not the same thing. It wasn't like it wasn't like it wasn't like you had a Cintiq or like
Yeah.
a graphics tablet where you could just draw on the screen. It was like all of a sudden, and I had a friend who stuck with it, and he did make some really cool short films, but he dug 3D animation. I was like, it just wasn't what I was into at all, and I went another way. Yeah,
I drew my first 3D on a tablet or whatever you want to call it, digital art, and man, I did not enjoy any aspect of that experience. It was just like, fuck that. Give me a pencil and paper. But anyway, we're here to talk about Thanksgiving, Kevin. Is that good? Are you good on that? Are you satisfied?
Yeah. I just wanted to rant about Kevin Smith,
cool.
Just that like he's in every fucking
nothing about crunch bars or anything. You're good.
No.
All right, cool.
If he pops up in this new Ghostbusters movie, I'm gonna be annoyed.
Dude, if Kevin Smith, because Patton Oswalt is in it.
Yeah, it'll be an Kevin overload Smith, of like
fuck that. Like I'll be upset about that. Anyway, Thanksgiving. So we're gonna go full spoilers, folks, on Thanksgiving. So this is your chance to pause or whatever. But this is I don't want to spoil that Patrick Dempsey's the killer or anything. If you haven't seen it. Here you go. Cat's out of the bag. Eli Roth, Patrick Dempsey, and then a bunch of other people I had never seen before. You
well, yeah, actually, a couple. Tim Dillon is.
Oh well, the dad is it?
No,
the dad I recognize too.
Yeah. Tim Dillon is the security guard. He's a stand-up comedian, and he's really fun. I've seen him live a few times. I just saw him in Skankfest last month or whenever I went, and yeah, he's one of the best stand-up comedians working today. But like, my wife really likes him.
The big fat guy.
Yeah, the big fat guy. He's in the top 3 Patreon like podcasts. Period.
Really?
Yeah, I subscribe to his Patreon. I've been a big fan of his for a long time. Cool. So it was cool to see him. I didn't know how much. I knew he was in it. I didn't know how much he was going to be in it.
Who's the dad? You know who I'm talking about? Why do I know his face?
I'm drawing a blank.
I feel like he was in You're Next, maybe, or something. I don't know. He just has a look. So Eli Roth directed.
Oh yeah, I didn't know who the dad was. You talk? Okay, yeah. I don't know. He did look familiar, but I couldn't place him.
Yeah. So Eli Roth directed it. I'm not a fan of Eli Roth stuff. I think he's a lot of what's called Shazam or like a lot of I don't know, shock stuff.
Sure,
like a shock director. I'm sure he's a cool dude. I've talked about him before. Like he owns a piece of my work and stuff like that. But this is my favorite of his movies. Definitely, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It started a little rough for me personally because I had to get some perspective in the chair while I was watching it in order to enjoy it, because it had like current day teens doing what teens do currently, and it's annoying as fuck. But then I was like, all right, well, every slasher movie has annoying teens for their time, and if you don't look at it that way, you won't enjoy it. And I was just like, all right, that's what's going on. And it's a simple thing. It's my own road bump or speed bump or whatever obstacle. But once I got past that, and once you get past the opening scene, which is just so aggravating, watching Black Friday at this Walmart store, once you get past that, the story kicks in, and it's like it was. Yeah, I mean, did you overall?
Yeah, I loved it. I'm a big Eli Roth fan. I like just about everything he's done. And yeah, this was no exception. This one, it was a little weird. I didn't know that. I mean, it was a little bit of a murder mystery. I wasn't expecting that, which was cool.
Wouldn't you say it is different than anything he's done, directing wise?
Kind of. I mean,
he's never done a slasher movie. Saw doesn't really.
Well, he didn't do Saw.
He didn't do Saw. What am I thinking?
He did Hostel.
Hostel doesn't have like.
I wouldn't call that a slasher.
Yeah, like a specific killer.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever done a straight slasher like this. But I think he did a good job. He what's the one guy that I thought that there was a little bit too much, like, as far as like who it was going to be. They present a bunch of red hair, or they present a bunch of like potential people, and a few of them I feel like they just kind of forgot about, like they present them in order to make you think it might be them,
right? But
then, like, for example, the guy whose wife gets killed on Black Friday,
he's the owner of the store,
or he's the lead security guard.
No, he's the owner of the store.
Oh, he like runs the store,
Or no,
or
not the owner.
because the
He
owner
runs
of the store,
The owner of
yeah,
the store is the dad. He
yeah,
runs the store and had to go in on Black Friday to open
right.
it up.
So like that guy, it seems like could be him, but then they don't really. You don't ever see that guy again for a while. I think he does pop it back in at the end,
Pops up
but
at the parade with a
right, but
mask on. That's it. Yeah.
yeah, it was like, okay, well, it's not going to be him because we didn't spend any time with him,
Right.
or maybe, but and then they really lay into these two guys, like the two boyfriends
Right.
of the main character. Like it's got to be one of them,
Right.
and one of them they laid on pretty thick, so much so that I was like, well, it can't be him. They're laying it on way too thick,
Sure.
and then I kind of figured out that it was Patrick Dempsey pretty early, um, only because and once this is a thing. Anytime there's one of these movies and somebody is found to be injured,
Yeah.
like you know what I mean, who is
Sure.
like injured off screen,
Sure.
it's never it's them. It's got to be them because like you've shown 10 people get killed in like and showing the most graphic things, and then all of a sudden this guy is just his head's bashed in on the side of a car. Like I don't buy, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was like, oh, there it is. That's it. It's gonna be him.
I don't think
Yeah.
I knew it was Patrick Dempsey. I knew he was in it. And I was excited to see him because I really liked him, and I like Patrick Dempsey a lot.
Yeah, I like him too.
Ever since that dating movie in the '80s, I forget what it's called, where he hires the chick to date him, or he gets hired. I don't know, whatever.
Can't buy me love.
Can't buy me love. But I've always liked him in this kind of leading role, or not leading role, but like he was in Scream and he played another cop in Scream, and he never got.
He doesn't scream.
He was in Scream 3 or 4, and he
Okay.
played a cop, and he was used as a red herring, and he ended up not being the killer. As soon as even though I knew he was in this, as soon as the movie started and they showed him, I was like, he's the killer. But I was convinced there were two, and I still am. And I think that they might, if they get a sequel, they might come back and show. And I don't know if it was the curly haired boyfriend, because remember when he gets knocked out and when Dempsey gets knocked out and he's on the sidewalk, we see the curly haired guy go in the building.
Yeah.
And then she follows him in, and you see him take the mask off. And they never really explained that. He's wearing the mask and he takes it off, the curly haired guy. So I don't know if it was him or what, but there's a scene where Dempsey it's the party scene where they go to get the guns,
Yeah. Yeah.
And Dempsey is like he's like across town, not at the party, and they're cutting back and forth. Then all of a sudden, on their way home, is when the black guy's girlfriend gets attacked, and all of a sudden, and the killer's there. And if the killer is Dempsey, there's no way he could have been there, because we saw him in his police garb over there doing this thing. So there were a couple sloppy editing choices, maybe, or story beats that weren't there, I think. But aside from that, I really like the character of John Carver. What an awesome name, for a slasher.
And real cool look, like a
real cool look.
Yeah, V for Vendetta look,
Yeah. I wish they had kind of given him, maybe that's why they didn't, because of V, but I thought in the posters he had more of like a long coat, like a half coat, which would have been a cool look, because he's wearing a Michael Myers jumper and it's just black. That's all.
He was.
Yeah.
Okay.
But other than that, I mean, he was just awesome. And I love that bit where he puts the mask on the oven and it melts a little bit intentionally, and then he puts it back on and he's like, yeah, like, this is cool. It was
great.
About,
go ahead.
Go ahead about John Carver. What were you gonna say?
Well, I just really liked it. It really had like an old school vibe of like it reminded me of like 80s and like late 70s horror movies where like how he had the table that he was collecting everybody killed's head and
Happy
then
birthday to me.
Yeah. It reminded me of like exactly like he was just like,
that was direct.
It was it seemed like he was just like, this guy really loved movies like that, and clearly like but he seems totally fine when he's like not being a complete psychopath, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think it was really smart to cast Patrick Dempsey as the killer, because he's smaller, which I always, whenever there's a mystery killer, I always look at the stature of the person, of the
Yeah.
killer, and try to match it up. And so that was another reason I was like convinced it was him. But I love that it was him, because Patrick Dempsey is still pretty, you know, svelte and like agile. And like, dude, that scene where I love that scene where he kills the comedian guy, and he like,
Yeah.
he does the uh piano wire around his neck, but then he does this turn so that he can
Yeah.
get leverage to cut his head.
Yeah.
That was a great idea and a great scene, like a great move.
Yeah. It looked like, yeah, you could, A, it looked like you knew what he was doing, and B,
Yeah,
it was like, yeah, that could probably, if you had
it
to
makes
take,
sense.
if you had to chop someone's head off, you could
Yeah,
probably do it that way with
yeah.
strong enough, you know.
And like his axe was awesome. That was such a cool axe that he had,
Yeah.
like as his signature weapon. I hope that it had a budget of 15, so 30 to break even or so.
Oh, I think it did.
Box office was 12.3 for the weekend global. That was global. So it'll probably make its money and then some. Especially with this weekend, those numbers aren't
Yeah.
in yet. So I really hope it does, because I want to see a sequel, and I want to see Patrick Dempsey at least in another one, if not carry it on. But this is one of those characters I think that you could easily uh, do a Scream thing where it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
legacy killer. But I'd rather see Dempsey carry it on. I think that'd be cool. And we don't see him
Yeah.
die. So
There were a bunch of really, and you know what, I thought the deaths were really cool and really creative. Like most of them, were the one woman. I loved that he like that was like, I was impressed with like how well thought out that was. That it looks like he's gonna drown her in the sink. She's a
yeah,
waitress, and
yeah,
he stays after, and like he goes to drown her in the sink, and then he opens up the freezer, and
yeah.
he throws her up against the wall, and her face gets stuck to the frozen to the
Yeah,
freezer. I was
the
like,
flip
that's
thing. Yeah,
awesome. And then she pulls herself away and then runs away, and he kills her then. But like that was,
which is a great, ended up being a great kill. Like
yeah, that was. I
the
mean, they were all, even like this, this stupid one where it was like the trampoline, and he just
oh yeah,
shoves this girl jumping on a trampoline. He just sticks a knife through the bottom of the trampoline, and then
she
she's
actually
fine.
didn't die from that though. Remember, she was in the fridge. That was the girl in the fridge.
Did he throw in the fridge?
Yeah, that was the what do you call it, cheerleader. She
Yeah.
didn't die from that. She was in the fridge. Remember, the stepmom finds her, and
Yeah.
she's wrapped in the plastic bag in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And the stepmom is like, "Be quiet, be quiet, be quiet." He's coming, and she grabs a beer to hit him with the beer, and shuts the door on the girl. And she like springs back to life.
Oh, I don't remember that.
It was
The
probably when
end
you
of the
fell asleep.
movie, I was trying to stay awake. We went to a 11:15 showing
Yeah.
because it was this event at the theater where they were doing, they had a lot of vendors there, which we'll get into.
Shout out to the horror house.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they were cool. It was really
yeah,
cool
yeah.
seeing them, talking to them,
Yeah, those guys were great.
but yeah, so we went to the 11:15, and it was yeah, it was I mean, it was like almost, whatever, almost 2 a.m, and I was dozing off at the end for sure, but
Yeah.
not because of the movie, because it was 1 a.m.
The one thing that I really, really, really wish they had done different, and it didn't really take away, it just would have made the movie better, was the final confrontation with Dempsey. He's not in his costume, and I would
Mhm.
have liked to see. You could still, I think, they're in the room when she figures out that it's him by the briars and mud on his pants,
Yeah.
right? And he figures out that she's figured it out, so he stops before he leaves the room. I think it would have been cooler if he had like maybe realized it, but didn't say anything, and walked out of the room and put the costume on, and then came back in, because that was a really long action scene finale of no John Carver, and instead just Patrick Dempsey running around. And it was like, that's cool, it's fine, but that would have been so much better if it was him. And at the end, if we know it's Dempsey,
Right.
you won't have to show his face again, and that would add more ambiguity to, like, is it two guys? Is he dead? Like, who is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
A little better.
Sure. Yeah.
Other than
Yeah,
that,
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I mean,
I know where you're going to
it
be
had that
going into, you
80s,
know.
it had that 80s vibe big time. He captured that really well.
Yeah, he already nailed the small town vibe
Yep.
like that you don't see anymore. That you see all. I just watched Groundhog Day today, and that it's the same vibe as that, where
Yeah,
it's like you feel like you know where everything is in town, and
sure.
it was like yeah,
It was very
he
much like an homage to Haddonfield.
yeah, I like
You
that
know?
everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody's on a first name basis with everybody else, and
Even though they're all dickheads, like
yeah, you
that, you
know,
get that opening scene at the black, what's it called?
Black Friday.
Black Friday, the Black Friday event. Then it's a year later, and we see the same people who were acting like fucking lunatics,
Yeah,
all like, the woman who all like
yeah.
cheery and shit. And it's like, are you kidding me? You guys are the
I really
worst
like
people
that.
on earth.
I really like that. Like, yeah, you saw all these people that were just the worst aspect of themselves on in the opening scene of the movie, and then it jumps a year, and they're all just like regular people. They're all waitresses or what, you know. They're not, they're nothing
Yeah.
really that nut. I really like that. That it
It
wasn't
was, yeah.
everybody besides the one kid, what they weren't just a grade A piece of shit in every scene they were in. They, like they were
But
regular people.
but I think that added to this, the fact that the whole town is psycho. That they do this on Black Friday, and it wasn't just any Black Friday. People got stomped and killed and crushed and bloodied and fucked, and then
Sure.
it's a year later, and they're just like ho hum. It's like you guys are all psychos. Like if there's a fly on the wall that's watching this, no one's coming to this town because you're all insane. I felt like it was like and it's typical. I think it's typical for Eli Roth to have that bonkers aspect to it, and then bring it down and then ramp it back up.
Yeah,
So
I would say so. Yeah.
and the kids every step of the way were just assholes. Like I love the one who got his head crushed at the dinner table.
Yeah.
That was a great kill. But that guy, man, what a dirtbag.
Yeah, he was the worst. But I think, I mean, he's obviously that by design. The whole movie, you're
Yeah,
waiting for this guy to get
yeah.
it. Like, you know,
I,
eventually I was like, are they not going to do it? Is he like, maybe he's the killer? Like, that would be even crazier. But like, man, yeah,
yeah.
he really, really did a great job of, I mean, yeah, making this piece of shit 18-year-old,
Yeah, all of them. I mean, I guess the main girl, whatever. She reminded me a lot of the new Scream lead who got canceled or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, she had a Heather like Lannon cat. How do you say it?
Langenkamp.
Yeah, like the Freddy Krueger final girl. Like she had that kind of vibe to me.
There was a lot of, I think Eli Roth definitely, like, more obviously in some ways pulled from 80s slasher culture, and I think that's awesome, and even more so, even more reason for this to become a franchise. I really hope, man, that it's not just a one and done.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
because we haven't had like a slasher franchise. I don't
No,
count. I know Roth didn't do Saw, but I don't count that as a slasher franchise.
I would, I guess, but like it isn't one to one. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I can't remember the last. I mean, not since the '80s have we had one that stuck. I mean, Michael Myers is still around.
Yeah, they're still making them,
but they're garbage. So
I
don't know.
I know there are.
I think a couple have tried, but nothing really.
Yeah,
nothing really popped. There was I guess one of the same distributors or production companies for this is tied to like the Scream thing that's going on now, and that she, the girl that got canceled, all that shit. So they're saying like that might affect, I don't know, people going to see this movie, but
I don't think that's going to affect anybody going to see it.
I haven't seen a lot of marketing push for it. Like,
no, there hasn't been. I haven't been seeing, anything like online or, they're really not promoting it that,
That's
much.
Too bad. I mean, if this could be just as, you could promote this just as big as Scream, I think. And I think it's better than the last like 4 Screams almost.
Yeah, I think it's better than Scream 6, Scream 5, Scream 4, and Scream 3. Yeah, it's better. I mean, it's solid. There's everybody was good in it too. Everybody You know, it was very well cast. It was just a good movie.
You know who I really liked that didn't get a lot was the gun guy. I don't know.
Yeah,
He looked
he
familiar
was another
too.
one that felt like were just adding him to give us another red herring. You know, like
Yeah.
maybe. I mean, there everybody did seem to have these like big personalities. You know, but not over the top. You know, like some of these go. You know,
He
like
reminded me he reminded me of a character from Nightmare on Elm Street, like maybe the Dream Warriors, like that sort of crew.
mhm.
Like he fits in perfectly with that. And at the end of the movie, after the people who have been killed, who were going to die, died, there's that shot of who was left, and it was like, the main girl, the two boyfriend guys, the gun guy, him, and maybe her best friend. So it was like a smaller
Yeah.
crew was left, the black guy, and it's like, and he set the camera on them. They're all like kind of leaning up against a truck,
Mhm.
and kind of sat there for a minute, saying, to me, it was saying like, "Here's your group for the next movie."
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah.
I think that would
Makes
have been.
sense.
I think that's awesome if they do that. It's a good tight shot, and I don't
Oh,
know.
one thing I really liked that
Yeah,
because the thing with cell phones now is like it's a problem you have to solve in movies like this now. You know,
yeah,
it's like you have to come up with a workaround
yeah.
on why they can't use the phone, you know, and you could be lazy with it, you could not address it, you could do whatever, but I really, really love, and they didn't spend a lot of time with it, but in one case, the woman that's getting chased around the kitchen, she goes to dial the phone, and I forget what happened to her hand, but she had been stabbed in the hand or she'd been stabbed somewhere, and she goes to call 911, and she can't do
Yeah.
the touch screen on her phone because of all the
All the
blood,
blood,
and it was
and she
awesome.
try she tries to do the facial recognition, and it
Yeah,
won't
and
do that
it
either.
won't recognize her, and it
That's
was
really good.
awesome. It was really cool. It was like you know
That was a tough kill, man. That I was squirming in my seat on that one. Baking her
yeah,
in the oven.
I like that they didn't shy away from a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like the kid that, well, they did a little bit. They did kind of turn away when the kid got his head smashed in with the meat tenderizer. I was like, oh, I mean, I could have gone a little more raw. I could see an unrated version of this. I thought,
True, but they like he hits the initial hit, yeah. But then the camera pans out and you see like the hammers down on his
yeah,
crushed head. But you got it back with the guy at the, at the parade. He's like the dad with the two
that
girls,
that was great. I
and
wonder, I wonder
the
if
pole just goes through his face.
I would. Well, yeah. There's that. I thought you were talking about the clown.
The
It was
clown was
chopping the
great
guy's
too,
head off.
man.
There
The
was
clown was
man.
great.
I wonder if there was somebody in this theater who thought I was a fucking lunatic because I was laughing
I
my
was like, I
ass
know,
off at
all
multiple
of them.
points. When that clown chopped off that turkey's head,
Yeah,
I was dying. That and then the beginning, I mean, I
yeah,
was laughing pretty hard when I don't know. I appreciate a good like physical like a kill like a
yeah.
where it's like, oh, cool, how'd they do that? And it looks like the amount of CGI was at a minimum.
It was, yeah,
It didn't look like there was a lot of CGI blood.
yeah.
You know, it
In fact,
was
as far as the kills go, I could only spot that first woman with the dumpster, and it was only
that was the
that was
best.
so good, man. It was so good.
That was the
Yeah,
best. That was the best because I didn't. Yeah, I was expecting. Oh, she's not going to make it to the dumpster, or like she's going to get. But just to like chop her in half like that was the best. That was awesome.
I mean, think back to all Nightmare on Elm Street. I think the Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, almost all the kills when they happen, while it's happening, you're like, oh, but when it happens, you're like, you do laugh. If it's a good one, you laugh because
Yeah,
it's so bonkers, but it works. I think Halloween was a little different because that was more of a serious
yeah.
movie, um, or the tone anyway. But yeah, I mean, he nailed it. Almost every kill, I laughed because it was so good.
Yeah.
You know? Um,
It was, yeah, I think you did a great job.
yeah, kudos, man. Kudos, Eli Roth. Gave me confidence. I really hope he does more.
I think he will, man. He's,
Yeah.
he hasn't slowed down yet, and he hasn't
Well,
made a
does more
real
of this.
serious movie or anything. This is kind of his wheelhouse.
Yeah. I'd love to see Thanksgiving too. And what was the tagline? It was There will be no leftovers.
Yeah, it's a great tat.
Who yelled that? Someone yelled that in the movie. Was it Dempsey?
I don't remember that part. Maybe.
And when they did, I just lost it. I laughed my ass off not because it was stupid, but it was so appropriate and so funny and so like just nailed it. Like it's perfect. It's a perfect tagline.
Who directed? Because these are all. So he directed the trailer for this in the Grindhouse. That's kind of the origin of this.
Sure.
I know Rob Zombie directed the trailer for Werewolf Women of the SS, and then there's Don't, which is the other one. Who directed Don't? Like the trailer for Don't.
I feel like I don't know. I know. Didn't Tarantino do one? Because I know he did half a Grindhouse.
Well, he did. He did Death Proof.
Him and Rodriguez.
I'm gonna look it up, but yeah, that's
yeah,
for another day. But
yeah, don't, man. I remember watching that. I was laughing my ass off with that. That was hilarious. All right, man. You good? Wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
all
excellent movie, man.
Yeah, Thanksgiving. Speaking of, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. I hope you had all the food and that there were no leftovers. You can, let's see, we'll be back for season 4 full on pretty soon. And in the meantime, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/deathbypodcast. What, you got something?
It was Eli Roth.
Did what?
Did don't.
So he probably did a few of them. Yeah.
I'm sorry, not Eli Roth. Edgar Wright. I don't know why I said Eli Roth. It was
Jesus
Edgar Wright.
Christ.
Sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you again. Sorry. It was Edgar Wright, not Eli Roth. My apologies. Yes.
Edgar Wright hasn't done a horror movie since Shaun of the Dead, right?
No. No.
Huh, that'd be cool. Don't was great. That was great commercial. Anyway, I'm your host, Adam. That's your other host,
Kevin.
It's Miller time. Kevin, wake up.
Shut the fuck up.
It's good. Maybe in the sequel, James Woods will be the killer. That'd be great.
James Woods would make any movie better. I mean...
All right, guys.
I think he would have made this better. I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
Put James Woods in more movies.
Put him in more movies. He's a psycho. See you guys. Have fun. Adios.